You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 17, 2023 special meeting of the LaPorte County Board of Commissioners. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Monday, July 17th, 2023. We were supposed to start at 6:15, but we're starting at 6:48. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Road call.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Present.
Commissioner Haney.
Present.
Commissioner Mrzinski.
Present.
You have a quorum, madam.
Okay, we're going right to new business, and we'd like to have nomination of contractors for the flood project. So we invite Mr. Skiat to come forward.
Eddie, would you be comfortable in having DA Dodd and Circle R Mechanical come in to show them what you have and see if they want to make a bid on that, on whatever else that needs to be done?
Absolutely.
And this would be in addition to the contract, to the bids that you already have. So you would have to make it in the form of a motion.
I would make that motion that we trust Mr. Skiat to check with DA Dodd, Circle R Mechanical, and the contractors that you already have engaged to get to fulfill the, if in fact it is an obligation, to make sure that we're doing things legal.
Not sure if we'd want to do this in a separate separate motion or a friendly amendment to the motion, but we'll need to, we should at least open up for any other responsible bidders to be able to put out a solicitation by the newspaper and county website to make sure that anyone we're not familiar with who may want to do some work, who's again responsible and actually able to comply with the scope of the work.
So that's not a second, correct?
If that were done, Andy, would the insurance company have a problem with that? Because you said you have a list of companies that have been approved. If somebody came in from the outside that has not been approved by the insurance company, is that going to screw things up for us?
Well, part of the bidding process is going to have to be, they're going to have to understand that once, if you hire or you request that they come in and do the work, they're going to have to go through approval for Chubb. So that'll be done at the back end, not at the front end. Because DA Dodd is not approved by Chubb, nor Circle R. So if they come in with the bid and you all decide that you want to go with them, it's with the contingency that Chubb, agrees to them doing the work and the hourly rate. Does that make sense?
So we have a motion on the table.
Either Mr. Paycheck or Mr. DiMartino, do we need to put any kind of date on that? Any timeline? We should, right? So, what do you think would be appropriate for that?
I don't know that you have to put it in the newspaper because I don't know about the publication. I think that if you actually posted, notices on the buildings and posted notices on your website, there's really no notice requirement for that. And I think that would be sufficient if you want to put it on Facebook. But I would recommend that you try to set the meeting like 10 days from today, the pre-inspection meeting, to come in. And then, give them 7 days. How long would it take for somebody to get a bid in?
Yeah, 7 days.
Yeah, so maybe like 10 days out for the meeting, like say 10 o'clock in the morning, 10:30 in the morning, and then 7 days for them to send their bids in.
So today is the 17th. Would your suggestion be the 31st, which would be 10 working days?
I don't know that it has to be 10 working days, just I think if you pick a date, you're good to go. So
What would you like to go with?
I would like to be timely because currently work is stopped. So the sooner we can move this process forward, I would like to return everybody back to work, the other trades, so that we can reoccupy your building, hopefully.
So we're looking at the 27th would be 7 days. Would that be adequate, council?
I don't have a problem with that, Madam Chair, and Mr. DiMartino, he's been more involved in the process with Mr. Skiat, so I defer to him.
So, and then when is your next commissioners meeting?
2 days from now.
No.
Oh,
After
after that, it would be on the 2nd.
August 2nd, so then you would want the bids
Ideally,
back
we'd
before
want it by
then,
then.
right?
Yes.
So you want the bids back by the first or whatever y'all decide.
Sure. So D,
So would that give you,
DA Dot and Circle R we have work history with, so that's not a problem. We can reach out to them. The question on the timeline would be pertaining to the other firms that would not be by invite, so to speak.
So Mr. Lewandowski said it'd probably take at least 4 days for somebody who walks the project to get a bid, so you're probably gonna wanna put the date back a little earlier, maybe the 25th, to give them enough time to get the bid into y'all for the inspection,
so then we will,
if that works, something like that.
we would have the project manager do the walkthrough on the 25th, and then have them prepare their quotes by the 31st, which would be that Monday, and then you could present them on the 2nd of August.
At your commission meeting, that would be great.
Okay, so we're gonna go with the 25th for the walkthrough. On the 31st, we will have, they will be at the deadline at noon for them to turn in all bids to you. And then we will present them on August 2nd. Do we all agree? Is that a timely? Mr. DiMartino? Mr. DiMartino?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So we would ask for them to do the walkthrough on the 25th of July. Have all bids turned into us by August 31st at noon. And then we would present them on August 2nd at our 10 a.m. meeting.
That sounds reasonable.
So that's 3 more weeks of delay.
Correct.
2 were already. 5 weeks of delay. Unacceptable.
And then we would have to advertise on the buildings. Just so that we're all in agreement. We would have to advertise on our buildings, and then we would have to advertise on the website. Would that be sufficient?
Yes, and then I guess Andy's gonna have to let the contractors know that if they're awarded the work, that they need to be able to start within short order. They can't say, we're gonna start in September. So whatever you think is reasonable.
Well, they wouldn't be able to start if they're not approved by Chubb, then they would still have to go out to get approval, correct?
Correct. But I mean that they have to be, but you can't put it off till September. They can't say, we can do the work and start in September.
But based on, depending on the approval of the insurance company, if it's not awarded to the vendors that have already worked with the insurance company, then it can get prolonged because we still have to have the insurance company approve.
Right, but we're putting the onus on the bidders that they have to be ready and willing to start as soon as they get approval. Do you know what I mean? That they can't say, we can put you in line and start in October.
Right, but I don't want to, I want the public to understand that if it is awarded to a contractor or a vendor that does not do business with Chubb, it will have to be approved by Chubb first. So there'll be a delay. Go ahead, Mr.
Can I make a
Cunningham.
suggestion, combine everything that we just finished up here with, put that in the notice to invite them in. Some of them are not gonna come in and waste their time at 10:30 in the morning on the 25th if they know they're not approved by Chubb and they don't wanna go through that process, and that they have to start work as soon as the project begins. So qualify in your announcement. You don't need to have 100 people walking through the building with Andy. If you get 4 or 5 or 6 or 10, what attorneys have just told you are the qualifications. You're gonna eventually have to get qualified by Chubb. And you've gotta be ready to start when the project starts. To me, that seems like should go out in the announcement.
Okay, okay.
If being approved by Chubb is part of the qualification, we've already got companies that are working here that are in the middle of their job that are already been approved by Chubb. If they're approved by Chubb, they're gonna be paid for. So what are we spinning our wheels here to go out and try to find somebody else that's not been approved by them and see if they can come in to save us $5? It's gonna cost us $100 in the meantime. I don't understand this at all. We're making this so much harder than it has to be. And in the meantime, 2 weeks gone by, no work. Now you wanna go 3 more weeks with no work. We need to get this building done. It's an emergency. If you have an emergency at home, do you sit around and go, well, geez, I don't know, I gotta go, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, I gotta get bids and stuff. No, it's an emergency. We need to get it done. The more we delay, the more it costs the taxpayers.
Commissioner Brzezinski, the legislature seems to have, in the statute here, anticipated emergency situations, which is why at the last meeting we declared an emergency under Code 36 since the Title 36, since the previous emergency didn't qualify under the old title. By declaring emergency at the last meeting, that allowed us to skip the lengthy, possibly 1 or 2 year full bid process and condense it down to this expedited quote process. That's why we're doing this, to follow the law.
So we're expediting it by putting it off by only a month. Because we started this process on the 5th of July, and if we're fortunate, then by August 2nd, we'll, they've just prolonged it by 1 month.
A month to address an emergency.
Okay, so can I have a motion so that we can put this out to advertise? And we would be,
President, I apologize for interrupting the microphone. Oh, excuse me, Madam President, I apologize for interrupting you. We're having a side conversation here, and it'd probably be more appropriate if the bids were submitted to someone other than Mr. Skiat. So, however you'd like that. If it was a formal bidding process, it'd be submitted to the auditor, or this isn't the formal
then
bidding process.
we'll submit it to the attorney, the attorney who has been working on.
Okay, that's fine. If we could just have instructions that the bids are submitted to Mr. DiMartino, then that's fine.
So you just put the office address on there.
Okay. And so why, Mr. Stables, do you not want it going to the project manager?
I don't really have any need to discuss that. I think it was the conventional bidding process. Would go to the auditor's office. I think that there might have been some concerns that certain contractors might. I think it just puts a layer of separation between the.
Well, it could come to the commissioners, could it not?
Yeah, it's a
So
layer.
we'll have the bids come to the commissioners.
Exactly.
Okay, so can we have a motion?
So who will actually put the bid out then to
We will.
actually advertise it?
We will.
The motion would be that the Board of Commissioners, the president, will post a bid to contractors who may be interested in bidding on parts of the project that are appropriate for their line of work.
So we would have to be more specific, and we'd have to name the dates, so we would have to have them available on the 25th for a walkthrough. They would have to submit their proposal by the 31st at noon, and then we would open them up and read them at the August 2nd meeting.
They're all in the motion?
Do you need to name the categories that were talked about at the meeting that you're gonna? The mechanical pipe.
Well, yeah, you don't.
Galvanized water lines.
You don't need somebody that does cement.
right?
So our motion will need to include the mechanical, the water piping, the radiant heat, and the HVAC.
Correct.
And so you're specifically inviting DA Dodd and Circle R, correct?
Yes.
Taking that other notice out for any other responsible bidder that wants to bid. Is that how the motion is gonna be?
So let me read out the motion and then
ahead.
you can,
Get it all.
okay, so what we're doing here is we are going to be putting out for the mechanical, the water piping, the radiant heat, HVAC. This would go to the two existing bids that we currently have, and then it would go out to DA Dodd and Circle R Mechanical. And then anybody else who's responsible and can get the approval by Chubb in a timely fashion. We would be taking, they would come here and they would meet with the contractor on the 25th of July. And then they would have to submit their contract, their quotes to us on the 31st of July at noon. And then we would read those, we would open up the bids on August 2nd at our 10 o'clock regular Board of Commissioners meeting.
And the quotes have to be time and materials not to exceed.
And the quotes have to be time and material and not to exceed.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
You want to put a start date?
Okay.
With the start date of, what do you say, immediate or
Immediate upon approval.
immediate upon approval?
That same day.
Need upon approval. Good.
Okay.
Good.
And it would have to be immediate upon approval.
So moved.
Okay. Everybody's good? Okay. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.